Sometimes the truth takes years, even decades, to catch up with a lie. And sometimes the wrong man pays for a crime he did not commit, until science finally speaks louder than suspicion. This is the story of Angie Dodge, a bright 18-year-old woman murdered in her Idaho Falls apartment in 1996, and the wrongful conviction that delayed real justice for more than 20 years. Let's start at the beginning. Angie Dodge had just moved into her first apartment, ready to begin her adult life. She was described as smart, kind, and ambitious. But on the morning of June 13, 1996, a co-worker found her dead, brutally raped and stabbed multiple times in her bedroom. There were no signs of forced entry. No weapon found. But there was DNA, male DNA, left at the scene. It did not match anyone in the system. Still, the police were under pressure to solve the case. Enter Christopher Tapp. Tapp was 20 years old at the time and a friend of someone loosely connected to the case. Over the course of hours of police interrogation, much of it without a lawyer present, Tapp gave multiple conflicting statements. Eventually, under extreme pressure, he confessed. But here's the problem. His confession did not match the crime scene, and his DNA was not a match either. Despite that, in 1998, Christopher Tapp was convicted of Angie Dodge's rape and murder and sentenced to 30 years to life. The only thing linking him to the crime? His own words, given under duress. Years passed. Angie's mother, Carol Dodge, believed in the system at first. But over time, she began to see the cracks. She watched the interrogation tapes. She saw how her daughter's murder had been pinned on a man with no physical evidence against him. And she began pushing, not just for Tapp's exoneration, but for the truth. In 2017, after relentless advocacy and legal pressure, Tapp was released from prison. His conviction was vacated, but the case was still unsolved. Then, in 2019, came the breakthrough. Using genetic genealogy, investigators uploaded the unknown DNA from Angie's case into a public database. The same method that helped catch the Golden State Killer. And it worked. They identified a man named Brian Drips, who had lived across the street from Angie Dodge's apartment back in 1996. When confronted, Drips confessed, and his DNA was a match. He admitted that he had acted alone. Christopher Tapp had nothing to do with the crime. In 2021, Drips pleaded guilty to rape and first-degree murder and was sentenced to life in prison, with parole eligibility after 20 years. The case was finally solved, but not without cost. Christopher Tapp lost over 2 decades of his life to a system that failed him. Angie's mother spent years advocating not just for justice, but for accuracy. And the real killer lived free for more than 20 years thanks to a false confession and a broken process. This case is now a landmark example, not just of justice delayed, but of how DNA and genealogy are reshaping modern investigations. It's also a warning that under pressure people can confess to things they did not do, and that believing someone is guilty is not the same as proving it. Angie Dodge was just 18 years old. She was murdered by a man who thought he'd never be caught. He almost wasn't.